Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Saints are my heart, and only I am in their hearts. They do not know anyone but me, and therefore I do not recognize anyone besides them as mine. This is a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, spoken by the Supreme Lord Narayan. It was spoken to the great mystic yogi, Radhanath Muni, on an occasion where Radhanath Muni was very open and receptive to hear with a submissive heart transcendental knowledge from the Lord. Sometimes one has to be put into a situation great danger or distress before one genuinely and sincerely opens his mind to hear the sacred words of God. Such is the case of the great sage Radhanath Muni. It is described in the 9th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam that he was very envious of the king Ambarish Maharaj. Ambarish was a very humble and gentle devotee of the Lord. Although he was king of a large kingdom, he never considered himself to be the proprietor or controller of anything. This is the nature of a purified soul. A devotee is fully conscious that everything is the property of God. Whatever strength, whatever intelligence, whatever position, whatever property, it is God's property. And if we believe that we can use it, anything, according to our whimsical concoctions, or according to our own sentimental conceptions, that is great illusion. And that is the cause of all bondage and all suffering. The Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, declares that the basic principle of all bondage is when the illusion soul thinks in terms of I and mine. That I am this body, and my wealth, my family, my strength, my intelligence, my position, it is all mine. Knowledge means to understand the truth. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains, when one has thus learned the truth, one will know that all living beings are part of me, and that they are in me, and that they are mine. Mamayavam so jiva loke jiva bhuta sanat. We are all part of Krishna. Nityo nityanam chaitanas chaitananam eko bahunam yoga datati kama. Therefore, we are eternally subordinate to Krishna. Every living entity, in whatever position of life, is eternally, constitutionally subordinate to Krishna at every step of life. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. And everything is the property of God. Therefore, whether one is a pauper in the street, or whether one is the king of all the land, if one is in knowledge, one has the exact, identical, humble position. There is a story in Srimad Bhagavatam about a journey that Lord Sri Krishna took to the holy land of Mithila. You have heard of Mithila. Mithila is today geographically in southeastern Nepal, and it goes by the name of Janakpur. So when Krishna was on pilgrimage, he came to this place. It is the place where Sita Devi, the supreme goddess of fortune, took her birth from the earth and became the daughter of Maharaja Janak. It is the place that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the all-beautiful and all-merciful Sri Ramchandra, broke the mighty bow of Shankar and took the hand of Goddess Janaki as his beloved wife. So since time immemorial, this has been a very holy land. Lord Sri Krishna visited that place. And when he was there, two people came to meet him at the outskirts of the city. One was the king. His name was Bahulasva. And the other was a very, very poor Brahmin of the name Shrutadev. They were both pure devotees of the Lord, whose only intention in life was the pleasure of Sri Krishna. So they both, with tears of love in their eyes, invited Lord Sri Krishna, "Please come to my home and allow me to serve you and welcome you into our kingdom." So Krishna could see that they were both offering their hearts full of love. So rather than please one and disappoint the other, for Krishna it is an easy thing to satisfy everyone's desire simultaneously. You see, as limited human beings, sometimes in order to please one person, we have to frustrate another. But Krishna is Abhidya Swarat. He is all-knowing and he is fully independent. He can do anything he likes. So he simply expanded himself into two forms, both identical. And simultaneously, one went to the home of Shrutadev, the Brahmin, and one went to the home of Bahulasva, the king. So as Krishna went to the kingdom of Bahulasva, he was greeted with a royal reception. He was brought into the elegant palace of the king. He was seated on the opulent throne, made of gold, silk, and various jewels. He was offered the most precious gifts. For entertainment, they had devotees of the highest capacity of talent performing before him, playing musical instruments, ensembles, and beautiful dancers. They offered him the finest cooked foods and the most succulent ingredients cooked by the most first-class experienced cooks. They fanned him with elegant chamara and peacock fans. The king bathed Sri Krishna's feet in gold and silver bejeweled bowls with fragrant waters. In this way, literally everything the king had, with all of his wealth, he offered to Sri Krishna. in a mood of humility and devotion. His feeling was not, Krishna, I am a great king. See what I have to offer you. Are you impressed? No. No. That is the way a neophyte devotee thinks. If a person is wealthy, has crores of rupee, and gives a couple crores, he wants people to think, just see how much I have given. Just see God, how much I have given. And let everybody else know also. But King Bahulasva was not like this. As far as he was concerned, I have nothing. This is all yours, Krishna. You are so kind, you are so merciful. You are allowing me in a humble way to utilize it for your pleasure. It is my only purpose. Simultaneously, Krishna went to the home of Shrutadev. Shrutadev, by all material standards, was in poverty. Huh? What did he have? He had a little straw hut. His family was wearing rags. As Brahmins, their sustenance was simply whatever little bit of charity people would offer them, whatever would come of its own accord. He did not have a palace to offer Krishna, but a little thatched straw and clay hut. But he welcomed Krishna with great enthusiasm. He had no big, beautiful, bejeweled throne. All he had was one little old straw mat. He placed it on the floor. My dear Lord Krishna, please accept. This is all I have. Accept this sitting place. He had no first-class trained cooks with opulent ingredients, but he offered Krishna a little rice. That's all he could afford. My dear Lord, please accept. To entertain Krishna, Shrutadev himself began to dance in front of the Lord, waving his chadar around in the air. He didn't have a chamara. He didn't have a peacock fan, but his family fanned Krishna with an old piece of cloth. Shrutadev washed the feet of the Lord, those beautiful lotus feet that are the shelter of all the 14 worlds, in a little clay pot, and sprinkled the water on the heads of his family, and they all felt divine ecstasy. As far as Lord Sri Krishna was concerned, the offering of Shrutadev and the offering of Bahulasva were one and the same in quality. They satisfied and pleased him in the same manner. What does that mean? It means you do not have to be poor to satisfy God. Huh? Some people are thinking that you have to give up everything. If you're a rich man, you're disqualified. Usually that's the case, but not necessarily. Lord Jesus Christ said, it is easier to put a camel through the eye of a needle than for a rich man, proud of his wealth, to enter into the kingdom of God. Generally, when we have wealth and prestige and power, we become very proud. We think, I am the controller and I am very great, although I'm still very humble and very saintly. Krishna does not accept with much relish such offerings. But King Bahulasva, although very great, very wealthy, very powerful, because he was a humble devotee of the Lord, always submissive, and always gentle in his behavior, his wealth was no disqualification. But Krishna accepted it, whatever he offered. as an act of pure love. Similarly, being poor is no disqualification. Although Shrutadev had nothing materially tangible that was at all pleasing to anyone, Krishna was ultimately satisfied. How is this possible? He is the Lord of Vaikuntha. He is the husband of the goddess of fortune. Whatever fortune anyone has in this world is only by the blessings of Lakshmi ji. He is the master of Lakshmi, Lakshminath. So how is someone who is surrounded in Vaikuntha by all the opulence in the creation, satisfied by a little plate of rice and some little Brahmin dancing around and a straw mat? Huh? The secret is in Bhagavad Gita. It is revealed by Sri Krishna. Patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhakta prayachati taraham bhakti bahritam asnami prayatatmanam. Krishna says, if one offers me with love and devotion a fruit, a little water, a flower, I will accept it with great pleasure. One time our Guru Maharaj was speaking to one personality from a particular religious institution that does not accept the form of God. So this person challenged our Guru Maharaj, you are giving prasad. What is this prasad? You are offering food to God, to this form, this deity of God. You actually think that God eats it? What is this nonsense? So Srila Prabhupada, our Guru Maharaj, looked at him. He said, you may have your opinion. I may have my opinion. She may have her opinion, and he may have his opinion. But the question is, what is God's opinion? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 9th chapter, Ashnami patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhakta priyachti thara ashnami prayatatmana. He says, if you offer me food, fruit, water, flower, with love, I eat. Ashnami means I eat it. So my friend, Krishna says he eats it. And you say he doesn't eat it. So who should I believe? The supreme absolute personality of Godhead Krishna, or a foolish loafer like you? Huh? If I have the choice, I believe Krishna. You also have the choice. Everyone has their own opinions, but what is God's opinion? So Maharaj Ambarish, although he was a great royal king, he was very humble. And he was a surrendered soul. He was always depending on the mercy of God. But he was greatly celebrated for his saintly qualities. And this was intolerable for the great mystic yogi Durvas Muni. So one day Durvas Muni came to the palace of Ambarish Maharaj. And because Durvas Muni was a sage in the renounced order of life, and he had great mystic potencies, he was very famous for his long years of performing mystic yoga in the Himalayas. Tapasya. So, Ambarish Maharaj, always being very charitable and submissive to the great souls, he said, my dear Durvas Muni, please take your bath and then I will feed you nice prasad. So Durvasa Muni went to the Ganga to take his bath. At that time, Ambarish had just performed a 1-year fast. Why did he perform this fast? For 2 purposes. 1, for his own further purification, and 2, for the benefit of all the kingdom. Because whatever the leader, the king, does, all the citizens get the credit. So therefore, in order to further the spiritual enlightenment of the kingdom and his citizens, he performed this great fast. But according to the rules of the Shastra, there was a certain time that he had to break his fast. If it was not broken by that time, the whole fast would be invalidated. So Durvasa Muni, while he was in Ganga taking bath, he decided to stay a long time, and he went into a state of samadhi. So Ambarish Maharaj was thinking, what to do? It's time to break the fast. I cannot eat before my guest. It's not good manners. What to do? And at the same time, if I don't break the fast, it will create a very inauspicious condition for all my citizens. So he consulted with the Brahmins. And they all agreed that drinking a little water is simultaneously breaking fast and not breaking fast. So he took a tiny drop of charanamrit, the water that washes the lotus feet of the Murti of Sri Krishna, and he sipped that water. Durvasa Muni, with his mystic power, could understand that he had drunk a sip of water. So he came to the palace, and he was very angry. He was furious. And when the great sages become furious, some of us have experienced, it is very frightening. Many of us are not afraid of lions, or tigers, or cobras, or nuclear bombs, but we are very much afraid of the wrath of the great souls. So Durvasa Muni, in a state of fury, he began to condemn this Ambarish Maharaj. You ungrateful sense enjoyer. You could not even control your senses enough to refrain from eating before your own guest comes to eat in your house. You deserve to die. So he took a hair from his head and he dashed it to the ground. And from that hair came an all-devouring fire monster. He was so ferocious. His body was of the constitution of blazing fire. And it appeared that his mouth was about to devour the entire creation. And this fire monster looked at Ambarish and lunged at him to destroy him. Ambarish, gentle king, stood at his doorstep with folded palms. Mare Krishna Rakhe Ke Rakhe Krishna Mare. My dear Lord Krishna, if you want this fire monster to kill me, I'm happy. I'm happy to go. And if you want this fire monster if you want to protect me, my dear Lord Krishna, then I will continue on in my service. My only desire is in life or death that I remember you, my Lord, with love. Because of this beautiful prayer of devotion, Krishna respond. Krishna describes in Bhagavad Gita that for my devotee who surrenders to me, I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. Kaunteya pratijani hiname bhakta pranasyati. Lord Sri Krishna declares in Gita, for my devotee who takes shelter of me, I am always his protector, he never perishes. So although Ambarish Maharaj did not raise a single finger to defend himself, he was simply praying with utter helpless dependence on the mercy of Krishna, happy to remember him under any condition. So Krishna, who could not tolerate this offense to his pure soul devotee, his Sudarshan chakra came showering down from Vaikuntha and immediately destroyed the fire demon. And then that Sudarshan chakra turned to Ambarish Maharaj or Durvas Muni and attacked him. Although Durvas Muni had perfected all the 8 mystic cities, he could become lighter than the lightest, heavier than the heaviest. He could read people's minds. He could within seconds transport himself to any planet. He could create planets. Prapti Siddhi. He could obtain any article from any part of the universe at will, instantly. Today, if someone has one little trace of one particular mystic city, he is worshipped as God. Durvas Muni had perfected all the 8 mystic cities. But when he saw the Sudarshan chakra coming toward him, he understood that he was finished. He was helpless. He was in a hopeless condition. He could not defend himself. All he could do is run away. And he ran. He couldn't run enough, so he began to fly. But everywhere he went, he felt the heat of the Sudarshan chakra right behind him. With his great potency, he traveled all the way to Indraloka. And he fell at the feet of the King of Heaven, Lord Indradev. My dear Indra, please save me from the Sudarshan chakra of the Lord. Indra said, this is Vishnu's weapon? Leave me out of it. There's nothing I can do. So Durvas Muni, he went to the abode of Lord Brahma. Lord Brahmaji, you are the father and master of the universe. Please save me, protect me. I take shelter of you. And Lord Brahma looked at him. You are asking me to protect you from the disk of Vishnu? It is impossible. No one can save you from the disk of Vishnu, except Vishnu himself. Then he went to the supreme abode of Kailash Dham, the abode of Lord Shankar, who is beyond this material creation. And he fell at the feet of Lord Shiva and prayed for his mercy. Lord Shiva, you know, I have been your devotee since I've been a little baby. You know I have. Honest. I've always been faithful and devoted to you. Since I took birth from my Mataji, Anasuya, I have always worshipped you as the Lord of my life. And all the mystic perfections I have, they've all been given to you, to me by you. So please, if I've done anything for you through all these years of tapasya, please save me from this disk of Vishnu. And Lord Shiva told him that the Sudarshan chakra, the wrath of Vishnu, there's is nothing I can do. There is nothing anyone can do to save you. You must approach Vishnu himself. Durvas Muni was so powerful that he had the capacity to transport himself all the way to the gates of Vaikuntha. He came to the palace of Narayan and fell at his lotus feet. And with great humility, he began to pray to the Lord that I know I have committed great offense, but now I understand it is all due to my false pride. Because I have been given such capacity of power and fame and prestige, I have become very much illusioned to think that I am independent of you. My dear Lord, now I surrender to you. Please save me. Please have mercy. Lord, have mercy on me. And Lord Vishnu looked at Durvas Muni and he said, you have offended my devotee. There's nothing I can do. As far as I am concerned, my devotee is more powerful than me. He described that sadhunam hridayam mayam sadhavam hridayam tvaham maram yatana janagmi naham devya namakapi. The saints are my heart, and only I in their hearts. They do not know anyone but me, and therefore I do not recognize anyone besides them as mine. The Lord in this verse is very intimately revealing his mind. He is revealing to the world that he is factually subordinate to the love of his devotees. Those pure souls who have surrendered their lives to the Lord are more powerful than Krishna himself. How is that possible? Krishna is all powerful. Because Krishna is Bhakta Vatsal. He agrees by his own sweet will to be the prisoner of the love of his devotees. There are a class of transcendentalists called the impersonalists, the Brahmavadis. And their idea is that by very, very great discrimination between matter and spirit, and by practicing tapasya, chanting mantras, acting charitably, and the 10 processes of purification, that we can become one with God. Mukti. But a devotee of the Lord, when he surrenders to Krishna, he doesn't become one with God. He becomes better than God. Nanda Maharaj, he was just a humble devotee, a cowherd man. He just herd his cows and milk the cows. Very simple profession. But because of his bhakti, Krishna was playing in his courtyard as his own obedient son. Not always so obedient, but in general very obedient. One time it is explained that Nanda Maharaj came home and Mother Yashoda said to Lord Sri Krishna, who was just a little boy, tiny little boy, just barely learned how to walk at the time. She said, my dear Gopal, please, why don't you bring your father's slippers to the door to greet him? So Krishna saw his father's wooden sandals. They were bigger than him. And he was endeavoring with great, great effort to lift up these big wooden slippers. But he couldn't lift them. So he was just trying again and again. And everyone in the house was laughing. Just see, he cannot do it. Krishna is a very transcendental showman. He is pretending that he can't lift the slippers. Although all the universes are supported by a mere expansion of his, of the name Sheshanaga. So then finally, with great effort, tottering like anything, he lifted the slippers. And he placed it on top of his head. And then, walking very carefully not to fall, he got to the doorway. My dear father, please accept these slippers. And when Nanda Maharaj saw the great devotion of his son, he began to cry in divine ecstasy. So this is the power of a devotee. By the humility and love of a devotee, even the Lord puts that devotee's lotus feet on his head and serves him. So, Narayan, the Lord of Vaikuntha, was describing how, when one offends his devotee, there is no salvation. Even the Lord of Vaikuntha himself cannot give salvation to one who offends the Lord's devotees. The only hope is to get the forgiveness of that devotee. Lord Narayan said, I am helpless, I cannot save you. Only Ambarish can save you. Durvasa Muni at that time got a very deep realization of the glory of the very humble devotees of the Lord. Although they think nothing of themselves, they are as powerful as God himself, because all the power of God is behind them. So Durvasa Muni went all the way back down to the place of Ambarish Maharaj. He had been traveling for 1 year, and the Sudarshan Chakra was still right behind him. When he approached the palace of Maharaj Ambarish, he was standing there at the doorstep as he was 1 year before with folded hands. Ambarish Maharaj was so submissive to his guests, so humble before the saints, that Durvasa Muni still had not eaten, so Ambarish would not eat until his guests ate. So he fasted for that whole year and simply stood there waiting. And then Ambarish apologized. I'm sorry for all this difficulty. I have nice prasad waiting for you. I'm sorry for the delay. And Durvasa Muni fell at his lotus feet and prayed, please forgive me, I beg you, please forgive me. And Ambarish Maharaj said, forgive you from what? What did you do? How can anyone offend me? I'm nothing. Because he went through the act of taking the shelter at the lotus feet of his devotee, Krishna in his heart forgave him. And the Sudarshan Chakra disappeared. So this is the glory and the power of the devotees of the Lord. Some people like to show off that they can perform very miraculous feats of strength. But in order to capture the heart of Krishna, we have to consider ourselves to be the smallest of the small and the lowest of the low. Only in that condition can we, with a genuine spirit of devotion, take shelter of the mercy of God. As long as we think we are anything, we cannot give our heart to God. We must realize the fact that we are nothing. We are insignificant. One time a devotee approached Prabhupada and said, "Prabhupada, I am the most fallen." Prabhupada said, "You are not the most anything." What is this false pride? You are simply insignificant. That is our position. We should not be proud that we are humble. We are nothing. We are insignificant. That is the realization that attracts Krishna. To the degree we understand the glory and greatness of the Supreme, to that degree we naturally come to the conclusion of our own insignificance. Therefore, the supreme process of yoga is to constantly hear the glories of the Lord and constantly chant His glories. Because by this process of hearing the great, wonderful Leela of the Lord, and by chanting His holy names, we take such great pleasure in the unlimited glory of God that we naturally come to the conclusion that in comparison, I am simply an insignificant atom at His lotus feet. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prayed, "My dear Lord, my only aspiration in life is to be an atomic particle at your feet." Huh? My friends, what are your aspirations in life? Money, wealth, beautiful women, husbands, power, prestige, good health, long life, fame, education. These are your goals in life. This is called Maya. The goal of the great souls is to simply be the most insignificant atomic dust particle at the feet of Sri Krishna. Because factually, that is our position. So by associating with those saintly persons who are constantly engaging our hearts and our minds in the process of hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, the doors to liberation are open wide. Mahat sevam dwaram ahurava muktes tamo dwaram yoshita sangvi sangam. Lord Rishabdeva has instructed us, by rendering service and associating with the great souls, the doors to liberation are open wide. Now, how do we associate with the great souls? This is described by Sri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya. By inquiring submissively, association with sadhu, sadhu sangha, means to submissively open our hearts and minds to hear their transcendental words. Some people think that I will just take the dust from a sadhu's feet and I will put it upon my head and I will be liberated. Please give me your blessings. The blessings of the sadhu come through the words that he speaks. And to receive the blessings of the sadhu means to open your heart submissively to hear those words. And then to respond positively to what is said. Sevaya, by rendering service. by rendering service to the great souls and by rendering service to the Lord through their divine instructions. The doors to Vaikuntha are opened. Tamo dwaram yoshita sangi sangha. But by association, by intimately mingling with those persons who are too much attached to pride, to women, to wealth, and to materialistic activities, the doors to hell are opened wide. The gates to the lowest modes of ignorance. Trivedam naratva, what is that? Trivedam narakashidam dwaram nashitam atmana. Kama krodas tatha lobas tas. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, there are 3 gates leading to hell: lust, anger, and greed. And those who are too much addicted to these materialistic activities, you should know that they are agents of Maya. Therefore, our business is to uplift them, to preach to them, to enlighten them, give them prasad, give them Harinam Kirtan, give them good instruction, but do not share what they enjoy in their life, or you are on the road to ignorance and bondage. Who you associate with is what you become. Therefore, a devotee of the Lord, he very carefully takes shelter of sadhu sangha, the association of the great souls. And in that association, he hears the glories of the Lord and he chants the names of God. The Yuga Dharma, the topmost process of purification in this age, is the chanting of the vibration of Harinam. Kalera dosanide rajan is aspices. Kirtana eva Krishnasya mukta sangha param. That in this age of Kali, simply chanting the name of God, you can attain all perfection. If we take this human life seriously, understand the glory of the Lord's devotees, and chant His holy name, then Krishna, who is the Almighty, Supreme Absolute Truth, will quickly deliver us from all bondage, from all suffering, and He will bestow His supreme mercy by fixing us as one of the atoms at His lotus feet. And there we can enjoy eternal pleasure in transcendental happiness in the divine loving service of the Lord. This is the benediction that the Lord has given through the chanting of His holy name. And one who has intelligence will take advantage of this, follow in the footsteps of great souls like Ambarish Maharaj, and always be protected by the divine mercy of the Lord. Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions? If there are any questions, we will try to answer.
You said that we should not associate with those people who are very much attached to the woman or very much materialist minded. Now, how we should reach them. Then we all the time say we like to have association of devotee. Then how we should behave with all other people and reach them?
It means that you give them Krishna. You don't allow them to give you Maya. The nature of a materialistic person is he enjoys materialistic activities which are based on greed and envy. And his standard of friendship is to share this spirit with you. So to intimately befriend such a person on his level means to come down to that platform of sense gratification. Therefore, if you actually want to be such a person's friend, you do not come to his level, but you bring him to your level by engaging him in the service of God. The question is, will he engage you in the service of Maya, or will you engage him in the service of Krishna? If you can engage him in the service of Krishna, that is perfect. But if the only basis of that relationship, if he will engage you in the service of Maya, then you can have nothing to do with such a person on an intimate level. According to formal etiquette, you can say Namaste, Hare Krishna. You cannot share his life. Unless you want to ruin the very purpose of human existence. Because such association will guarantee the ruination of your human existence.
Devotee of our Lord take risk for preaching purpose, go and associate with this type of people sometimes.
But what is the risk? He does not enjoy sense gratification with such persons. His only business exclusively is to elevate such people. The risk is he's going to them. He's coming into their company, but his only business is to elevate them. The Bhajananandis, they do not even want to take the risk of seeing the face of such a person. They will hide in Vrindavan, or Navadvip, or Badrinath. Just to look upon the face of a materialistic person is abominable. But the great souls, they will take the risk of coming into the cities, coming into the towns and villages, with the exclusive purpose of performing the mission of Sri Krishna. Because Krishna declares in Bhagavad Gita that there is no one more dear to him, nor will there ever be one more dear to him than one who preaches his message. Who is willing to take that risk, who is willing to perform that sacrifice for the upliftment of humanity.
There is saying when we go in a dark room, there is a chance that we may get a spot in our body also. So if somebody is, if we are going for preaching, there is a possibility we are taking risk and preaching that type of people.
Therefore, you have to reinforce your strength by the association of saintly persons and by strong sadhana. By a vigorous, enthusiastic program of hearing the scriptures and chanting the names of God and serving the great souls. This will give you the strength by which you can go out into the battlefield. And you'll have the army of the mercy of the great souls protecting your every part of your body, every part of your consciousness. You will be protected. If A soldier goes into the battlefield without his armor, without his weapons, and without enough food and water. He'll be very weak and vulnerable to be wounded and possibly killed. Huh? So when you're going out preaching, know that you are going into a battlefield. And Maya, with all her energies and all her agents, are going to be throwing their weapons at you. Huh? So therefore, before going to the battlefield, you have to have your armor on. You have to have all your weapons, and you have to be strong. Your weapons come from hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. You are equipped with strength and power. You are well nourished. And the blessings of the great souls is your armor. If you have that, there is no power on earth that can defeat you. But if you are not humble, if you are proud, you may think you have your armor on. You may think you have your weapons in your hands. But when you need them most, you'll find that they're not there.
What's the meaning of humble?
You are not the doer. Krishna is the intelligence of the intelligence. He's the strength of the strong. Whatever you have, whatever capacity you have to preach, whatever capacity you have to chant, whatever capacity you have to do anything, it is not yours, it is God's. He has given it to you as a gift, and He can take it away anytime. A bewildered soul thinks he's the doer of his activities. But a devotee understands, I am not the doer. It is only by the grace of the Almighty Lord. It is only by the mercy of my beloved Sri Krishna that I can do anything. I cannot exist for 1 second without falling down to gross sinful activities unless Krishna is there to hold me up. Huh? If you're proud, He will no longer hold you up.
But because of this mentality, sometimes I don't want to do anything.
That is another form of pride. Huh? This is just another side of pride. I'm so fallen, I cannot do anything. I'm so fallen, I don't deserve to come into the association of devotees. This is not. You don't really think you're fallen. You're so damn proud. If you actually feel yourself really fallen, if you're really humble, then how will you think? That, my dear Lord, whatever you ask me to do, you are my power, you are my strength, I will do it. Huh? You will crawl to the association of devotees. You actually feel yourself fallen. You actually feel yourself nothing. Bhagavad Gita condemns inaction as another form of illusion and pride. Huh? Krishna tells Arjuna, you fight, but fight for me. Have faith in me. I am the doer. You just be my instrument. A devotee's life is simply being the instrument of Krishna. The instruments of his devotees. Very simple, very happy, very peaceful, very uncomplex. Huh? Any other questions? The only fear that a devotee has, he's afraid of two things. One, he is afraid that he may forget Krishna. Two, he is afraid that he may intentionally or unintentionally offend one of Krishna's devotees. Outside of that, a devotee is not afraid of anything.
What is that second?
That he may intentionally or unintentionally commit some offense to one of the Lord's devotees. Because if you do that, your spiritual life is checked. Even if a devotee acts in such a way that appears not so devotional, you should be very careful. You do not know why and how Krishna is testing that person. And if with malice in your heart you criticize that person, you may be jeopardizing your spiritual life. So the devotee always looks for the good in other devotees. He sees the glories in another devotee. He's scared to death to find fault in another devotee.
But that is also dangerous sometimes. Some neophyte says that whatever another devotee is doing perfectly correct, so we should not criticize.
No, it doesn't mean everything's correct. It means you don't find fault. He may be wrong, but he's still a great soul. Right? Doesn't mean you just listen to anything anybody says. But that doesn't mean you find fault. You have pity, you have sympathy upon a person who's in a difficult condition of life. You don't find fault with him. You try to help him. Thank you very much.
Sri Radhanath Swami Maharaj ki jai.